We continue our 5 questions feature here on NC State basketball today on NC State forward Jerry Deng. As always, I have with me Jake McSwain. Jake, how you doing?
Doing good, man.
Excited about talking about Mr. Jerry Deng. First game, the first scrimmage, stats release. Jerry, 8 minutes in this game for NC State, came off the bench, hit a big three for State in the second half, had a rebound, had a block. I think Jerry Deng is a player who we talked about it on, I believe it was the Paul McNeil 5 questions, where you talk about peaks and valleys, not only in production, but also probably in minutes. And I think Jerry's a player who probably for me more than anybody else on this roster will fit that description, because in this exhibition, he played 8 minutes, which was the fewest of the 9 minutes they played. But if he comes out and he knocks down a three or two early, that number probably could jump to 20, 22 minutes in a given night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of it's going to be tied to what he's giving you in terms of shooting volume and hitting shots. And that upside is really, I think, what was intriguing about Jerry Deng all along.
Yeah, I think for your point there, like, he's going to be hard to take off the court when he's hot, because he can get incredibly hot. We saw that at Florida State. He is somebody that brings a unique skill set to the big man group. Like we've talked about Venon Lubin and Sanya and their ability to knock down outside perimeter jump shots, and how that is a potential thing. But with Jerry Deng, there's no potential about it. I mean, that's just what he does really well.
All right, let's get into a first question for Jerry Deng. What was the initial role when he signed or committed to NC State? Man, thinking back, it feels like we've been thinking back to different roles, and it's so crazy because this roster was never totally together until the very end. So I believe when he first committed, we viewed him as a 4/5 for NC State that could play and give them minutes at the 4. And I want to say at the time, Jake, I don't think Darian Williams had committed yet. So we were looking at it as more Deng and Copeland at the 4 and kind of figuring it out with those guys. And so early on, you were projecting a really, really big role for Jerry.
Yeah, I think you were looking at him as one of the few bigs that you had. And then even when it was Paul and Bayo, it was like even better. You have a more veteran piece that does something that's a contradictory skill set. So I think when he first signed, people were really excited about the potential and someone stepping into a bigger role.
What about now? What about his role right now? And I think we're seeing it. He's going to be a backup 4-man for NC State. I think with the addition of Moussa Sanya, you're likely not going to see him play a ton of minutes at the 5, because we know they want to find some minutes for Moussa. I think the question in terms of expanding Deng's role would be, how much can you play Darian Williams at the 3? Right? I think that's something to keep an eye on. And because I was a big believer when they landed Williams, I wanted to see Deng play some opposite of him at the same time because of his stretchability shooting the basketball. And so I wouldn't totally rule out those two playing together at the same time on the floor. But I think a lot of his minutes, in my opinion, right now are tied to what you're getting from Darian Williams from a minute standpoint and the other pieces around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do think just because we didn't see it in one exhibition game doesn't mean you won't see it throughout the course of the year. I think it's something that's intriguing. NC State's going to be able to flex guys up and down the lineup. Deng can move well enough that you could play him at the 3 as well if you really wanted to. I think there's more ways to plug him in as the year progresses. So it wouldn't shock me to see him playing in some odd situations.
Best case scenario for Jerry Deng. For me, the best case scenario for Jerry Deng is he becomes a 6-man who is shooting it too well to keep off the floor. And State just says, you know what? Like, this guy is taking advantage of the gravity others are creating, the space others are creating, and he's just going to knock down shots. And I think they view him as a high-volume shooter who can go out there and sort of like we talked about with Paul McNeil, where in that first game, Paul took 8 threes in 24 minutes. Jerry was at 2 in 8 minutes. I wouldn't be shocked to see NC State want to get Deng around 4 to 6 threes a game, just in terms of attempts when he's out there. They want him aggressive, taking shots. And when he's out there, if he can knock them down, look, the three ball is the most, obviously, is what teams look for when they're scouting. And so if you have a 6'9" player who can go out and knock them down at a high clip, you're going to find minutes for him.
Yeah, and I think the best case scenario, like you said, is going to come from competition. Like it would likely for Deng personally, his best case is going to be he drastically outplays Musa Sanya, for instance, and then he's getting those backup 5 minutes, or like he's exclusively the backup 4, and they have to slide Williams down because and maybe get Arsenault off the court some more, or Copeland, and you have someone else handling the ball. But like you said, for what should be great for Moose or for Jerry is that he can play himself into that. Like if you knock down shots at a high enough clip and you become that elite of an offensive player, like you'll find more minutes. Like a staff will find you more minutes if you show that on the court.
Worst case scenario for Jerry Deng. Oh man, I don't want to say did we see it in the exhibition, but right, like I think you look at him getting between right around 5 to 10 minutes, and you've got other players playing really, really well, and he doesn't get the volume. And this is the deal when you put a quality roster together with proven college players, somebody's going to get squeezed, right? We talked about it. Someone's going to get squeezed out. Even in this exhibition game, Jerry played 8 minutes. We didn't see Allen Breed in the exhibition game. As an example, we didn't see Scotty Abube as an example of guys getting squeezed. And so when others are playing well, and what I mean, Jake, by playing well in that exhibition game, State shot 54% from the field. They shot 37% from three. Well, if you're shooting 54% from the field and 37% from three, may not feel like you need to play Jerry Deng much in that game, right? So I think it's tied to others. But, low minutes, low volume on threes would be probably worst case scenario.
Not much more to say, but what I will say though is let's not forget that Jerry Deng had NBA workouts scheduled this past off season. Like there is a legitimate interest in some form or fashion, whether it be just like a low end draft pick or whatever. That's still impressive. Not impressive isn't the right word. It's a good sign for NC State that their potential 10th, 9th, 10th, 11th man is somebody that's on the NBA radar. Like that, there's something to be said about that. And again, to paint the picture of this broader roster that NC State's been able to assemble.
And I think the thing is, he's comfortable or should be comfortable in this role because it's essentially what he played at Florida State, albeit on a worse team. He played a similar role where there'd be nights where I'm looking at his box score right now. There were nights where he'd get 3 minutes playing time. There were nights where he got 24 minutes. I looked at, March 1st against Duke, he had 24 minutes, 4 of 7 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3, 12 points. I mean, that's what you're going to likely get from Jerry Deng. And so for me, that's the final projection. I think the projection for Deng is he's going to be a player where you play him in the first half, you see what you get, and then you play off of it from there as a coach. And Jake, you've coached before. You've had players like that where you put them out there. What are you going to give me? What are you giving me? And there's certain things you ask from certain guys. Like some, you want them to be 3-point shooters. Others, you want them to give you energy and rebound and defend when they're out there. I think for Deng, is versus that particular opponent, can he get his shot off at a high enough clip to where it's worth keeping him on the court?
Oh, yeah. My final prediction for Deng this year is we're going to have 2 or 3 games that are going to be Jerry Deng games where he comes. He's going to have 21 points on 7 threes. And it's going to come out of nowhere. And the other part I'll say is the second baseball analogy I've used on these videos is it's just like your situational pinch hitter. Like if a team decides to zone NC State, for instance, like you're gonna see Jerry Deng come in the game. Like it's just like a zone break glass in case of emergency. Okay, let's put a 6'9", 6'10" guy that can go out there and shoot the pill. Let's make ourselves harder to guard if the teams want to try to do this. So like he's gonna find himself in situations where he's gonna get more asked of him because we need it. Or if we're struggling offensively, maybe it's a guy you can put in for instant offense off the bench.
Yeah, look, final thoughts on Jerry Deng is I believe he's one of the reasons why I am very high on NC State going into this season. Because when you have players like him who are fighting and clawing for minutes, Jake mentioned it, he received some NBA workout buzz. I think he worked out for the Milwaukee Bucks. He went through the draft process. And he's essentially right now heading into the year operating as State's 9th man. That gives you hope that you're going to be really, really good. But also, it gives you insurance. If something were to happen to a player or two, you've got legitimate options. This isn't a deal where NC State's going to be lost as a team if they lose a player or two. And that's where you give Will Wade, Andrew Slater, Patrick Stacey, and their staff credit for putting this roster together, because they have pieces at every position where if something were to happen, you've got another option. And Deng is right there in terms of just a guy where if you need to play someone else at the 5 on a given night, he can do it. If you need to go big, and he can play the 3 for you if you have to go big because of his stretch ability. So really excited about what Jerry Deng brings to the table as we continue to roll through these 5 questions feature. And like I say every time, if you haven't done so yet, subscribe here at Inside Pack Sports on YouTube, and also check out the website www.insidepacksports.com for the latest information on NC State athletics.